Today on Most Buffalo, a new school year means new outfits, but it's not cheap for families or teachers. A local menswear store shares how it's helping educators look and feel fresh for the first day. Plus, a culture as rich in history as its food is in flavor. We'll tell you what you can expect for this year's Egyptian Festival in North Tonawanda. And it may not be the first thought for those considering a career in service, but leaders from the NFTA say being a transit authority officer comes with plenty of perks. Most Buffalo starts right now. Hi there and welcome to Most Buffalo. I'm Kelly Dudzik. An annual celebration of Egyptian culture returns this weekend. For the 17th year, North Tonawanda will host the Egyptian Festival, allowing Western New Yorkers the chance to immerse themselves in thousands of years of the nation's culture without having to travel across an ocean. So joining us now in studio is Thomas Gattelrab, a spokesperson for St. Mary and St. Moses Church, which is where the festival will be held. Thank you for joining us today on Most Buffalo.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it. What can people expect this year at the festival? Yeah,
at the festival, we try to amp it up every year and try to do as much as we can. And as you said, kind of give you a little bit of Egypt right here in Buffalo without leaving, Western New York or travel agents and things like that. So we try to bring the food, we try to bring the atmosphere as well as the culture to share what our church has to provide.
And inside the church, I know there are a lot of cultural displays. Tell me what we have here. What did you bring with us?
Yes, definitely. So, one of the things that we'd love to showcase, of course, is the sanctuary, as well as in terms of our wood carvings and the actual tapestry and iconostasis, as we call it. And there's examples of that, as you'll see. What we have is traditional wood carved icons and giftable pieces in terms of both spiritual as well as more pharaonic atmospheric things. And in terms of these wood carvings, these are brought and handcrafted in Egypt.
Wow.
And then we bring them here and they're stained. So these are actually two different color stains. So you'll get different iconography in terms of St. Mary, for example, or Jesus, the Holy Family's flight to Egypt, different things like that.
And you have things on display where you can learn, but you also have stuff for sale too, right?
Yes, absolutely. So again, in terms of the things that we have for sale, that is something that people have really enjoyed. So we've tried to bring more of those wood carvings in. But of course, once you head into the wood sanctuary, we have a church tour in terms of explaining the different icons, why things are there, how we pray, etc. Because again, that's not something many people are familiar with, and that's why we want to share that.
Or exposed to, and a lot of people cannot afford to go to Egypt,
Yes.
So why not go and visit North Tonawanda where you can learn more?
Yes, exactly.
Tell me about the food, because I know the food is also a big part of the festival.
So, I'm biased, of course. It's one of my favorites, if not the best, I think, cultural festival foods in Western New York. Obviously, you'd have to come and check me on that. But in terms of a lot of the Middle Eastern or Levantian dishes that people are familiar with, Egypt has a specific flavor profile in terms of those different dishes. Falafel, for example, many of the other countries use chickpeas. We use fava beans, so it has a different flavor profile. Similarly, as well, in terms of desserts such as baklava, we don't use rose water. So what that ends up doing is you get more of a nutty, sweet flavor in terms of a lot of the dishes and desserts that we have.
So similarities, but differences too.
Definitely,
that people can learn about. What's your favorite part about putting this festival on?
That's a great question. My favorite part of this festival is truly sharing with the community. What you'll find with our festival specifically compared to some other ones is that given its size, when you come and attend, you feel like family. And that's something that we truly try to cherish and share, in that we want you to come in, we want you to feel welcome, we want to share with you and treat each and every person like, hey, this is my favorite dish, this is why I'm here, this is why we're putting it on. And a lot of people may not realize, in terms of our feast for St. Mary is August 22nd. So we hold this festival in honor of her, to respect her and revere her and to serve her, again, as she for her reverence.
What do you hope people take away with them, especially if this is like their first exposure to your culture?
Yeah, so in terms of visiting, number one, definitely the food in terms of different flavors and different traditions. But beyond that, someone may hear the word Coptic or Coptic Orthodox and not understand.
Right, and not even know what that
exactly
means. Yeah.
Yeah, so coming and then experiencing that and learning more and coming away from it learning something. Even if it's you like this dish and not like this dish, or going in and seeing the icons and saying, hey, okay, now I understand why they have icons in the church.
And a good entryway, I feel like, to learn about any culture is through food.
Yes, yes.
Because everybody gets food, and you find something you love, and then you're in the door.
Exactly. Eat your way around the world. That's what I say.
If somebody wants to go, tell me the hours, where you guys are located, and what they need to know.
Yeah, so we're in North Tonawanda off the corner of Payne and Wheatfield. You know, I always say if you want to come out for the weekend on a Saturday, go to the farmers market up there, and we're only about a 2-minute walk from there.
Easy.
Friday we start at 3, Saturday at 11, and Sunday at 12 this weekend in North Tonawanda.
Is there any cost to get in?
No, free admission. Please come on by, even if you just want to say hello and walk around. But I think when you smell the flavors and you see the different things around there, you won't be leaving pretty soon.
And then if somebody's going, what's the best strategy to find parking?
Yes, that is definitely in terms of, again, with people in the city market, it's street parking there, so try to get in there early, and don't be afraid to take a nice little stroll in the sun.
All right, get your steps in.
Yeah.
And that's Thomas Gattle-Rapp, spokesperson for St. Mary and St. Moses Church. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank you again
your
for
time
having
with
us
this afternoon. Well, some of the best sailors from across the U.S. and Canada will be in Western New York this week for the 2026 International J111 Class North American Championship. The 4-day competition, hosted by the Youngstown Yacht Club and Youngstown Community Boating, brings teams to compete on Lake Ontario and the Lower Niagara River. They will use 36.5-foot-long racing boats. The championship focuses on boat handling, sail trim, tactics, and teamwork. The first race is Wednesday morning at 9:30, and it all wraps up on Saturday. And we're counting the days until the National Buffalo Wing Fest kicks off once again at Salem Field. Gates will open this coming Saturday at 11 a.m. It continues through Sunday. It is $20 to get in. There are contests, there's lots of entertainment and other family-friendly activities. Once inside, you buy tickets to sample the wings and other treats from more than 20 vendors. The average cost for 10 wings this year will be just over $14. There is much more to come on Most Buffalo. Call to serve from the NFTA. The agency joins us next to tell us about becoming a transit authority police officer, the job's many benefits, and why time is running out if you want to apply. Welcome back to Most Buffalo. Right now, the NFTA is searching for the next generation of transit law enforcement professionals. Applications are open right now for this year's transit police entrance exam, and leaders with the NFTA say there are a lot of benefits to a career as an officer. So joining us right now in studio are NFTA spokesperson Kelly Khatib and Transit Authority Police Officer Elliot Justinger and his canine, Eco. Thank you for being here. Let's start off with the basics. What are the qualifications if somebody wants to apply, like right off the bat?
Okay, so right now, if you want to apply, the reason that we are really doing this push is the last day to get your application in is this Friday.
Oh, so you got to hurry up.
Exactly. So you do have to be 18 and over by the time you are taking the test. The test is going to be next month on the 19th, but we want everybody to get prepared because, like I said, go to nfta.com so you can download that application. And you got to get it in by Friday. There's
a low age, 18. Is there a cutoff age? Because I know for some officers, some law enforcement situations, there's like you could be too old and not be able to apply.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
You can go ahead and apply. If you can pass the agility test, which we do have, then you can go ahead and give it a shot. We're, again, we want the best and brightest. So that's what we're trying to push right now.
What does that agility test entail?
Oh, man.
Yeah, what do you have to be able to do? Because a lot of people cannot do one pull-up.
Yeah.
It's push-ups, sit-ups, and a 1.5-mile run to the Cooper standards. So the Cooper standards is basically like just a standard that's used across the board. So you can go online, you can look up the Cooper standards, and then that will tell you for your age bracket how many push-ups, sit-ups, and 1.5-mile run you need to do.
Okay.
The time.
All right, that's good to know. Yeah, the time is the thing because a lot of people could run a mile if you pause a bunch in the middle. Once you're accepted and you start training, what are the types of roles that you could take on as an officer when you're employed by the NFTA?
So to start, you obviously have to go to the police academy, and then after that, you go into field training, which is 10 weeks long, and then after that, you are just a general patrolman. After you get some time as a patrolman, you can get promotions into canine, detective. We have TROs, which is a transit resource officer. We have a bunch of other little stuff too, like there's some airport specific roles as well, but mainly detectives, canines, and you also can get promoted to like lieutenant or captain.
So you kind of figure out what your specialty is once you get in?
Yes.
Excellent. What are some of the most rewarding parts of the career for you?
I'm obviously a canine handler, so that's I'm gonna give you the canned response there. Is that my favorite thing about the job is being a canine handler.
Yeah.
I get to bring my best friend to work with me every day, get to play with them, and get to do stuff like this with them. So this is probably my most rewarding thing out of the job.
What's his specialty?
He is an explosive detection canine, so he smells out bombs.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. And he's playing with his ball right now.
Yeah, because he'd be going a little crazy if he wasn't.
He needs to be
Yeah.
because he needs to have a job to do.
Yes,
right?
yeah, he's very, very high drive. So if he doesn't have something to do, he will find something to do. So we're going to keep him occupied with this ball right now.
Yeah, we're going to do our best.
Yeah.
Now, when people apply, do you find, because I was wondering this, is it mostly people who are just starting out and this is their first career, or do you have people who've been doing something else for a while and they decide they need a change and they want to switch careers?
We've had it across the spectrum.
Okay.
I mean, it is, every time that we do a test, there's always a mixed bag of what comes in through the door. We get the high school kids that want to take their first test to get into law enforcement, and then we have people that are 35, 40 years old and they want to change a career.
So it's a mix. And it's nice that you don't have that ceiling, because I know, again, like I'll look and a lot of them say like 40, 45, and you're like, well, I can't switch careers now, you know, if you're too old.
Never too late.
Exactly.
So again, remind us the website and what people need to know. The deadline is Friday, right? So they got to hurry up.
Deadline is this Friday. There is a $25 application fee, so make sure that you have a check or money order if you're going to have that. You can download it on our website at nfta.com, and then you can go drop it off at 181 Ellicott Street.
All right, so get on it if you're interested in possibly joining the NFTA, as long as you can pass that physical test, because that's important too. Thank you for being here, guys. We appreciate it. Here's another opportunity if you love everything spooky. Fright World is holding open interviews and auditions this weekend ahead of its upcoming season. The haunted house is looking to hire about 175 seasonal workers. Auditions will be held Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Fright World on Hurdle Avenue. Applicants must be at least 18 years old. There's much more to come on Most Buffalo, including a back-to-school giveaway for local teachers, how it aims to give educators a confidence boost for the new school year. And we're back with a special back-to-school effort, because it's not just students thinking about their first day fits. Teachers are too. This Wednesday, St. Brian Clothiers will host its third annual Dress the Teachers giveaway at the King Urban Life Center. The local menswear shop will be giving away blazers, shirts, ties, and more for free to make sure educators are able to dress their best this school year. So joining us now in studio is Whitley III, the owner of St. Brian Clothiers. Thank you for being here on Most Buffalo. What inspired you to start helping teachers like this?
Well, what inspired this effort is the tragedy that took place at 514, right? So we've been blessing and dressing men in honor of the Jefferson 10 since that dreadful time of our lives here. But, finding different demographics of men that we can pour our love into and make sure that, we set aside some special inventory just for them. It was important. So whether it's Dress the Deacons, Dress the Veterans, the Youth for Prom, but this time around, we found it very important to pour some love and encouragement on the teachers because they too have, a lot to be considering as they prepare for day one. And we want to make sure that what they wear to clothes is the last thing that they have to worry about. And
teachers already spend so much of their own money on school supplies. They're not thinking about themselves. They're thinking about the kids.
Always, always. Yeah. And you know what? And their parents too, right? Yep. So they also have, their own personal kids that they have to, to carry that burden for. So, but ultimately we know that, what a suit does, it transforms and it encourages and empowers. And we want those teachers to have every opportunity to express who they are as well as a teacher, because clothing allows you to make a presence as well and communicate, who you are. Yeah, who you are. So, for them to be able to walk to our showroom at the King Urban Life Center and be able to customize their look, because a lot of times you go into a store and the things that you want are not always the things you can afford.
Exactly. And it's overwhelming too, because there can be too many choices. And then you just don't know what you like, and you could make a quick decision. And this sounds like you will have people there helping you figure out what looks good on you and what you really want.
That's the fun part for us, right? To be able to really bless while we dress, we get to address, and learn about what it is that you're looking for. And we know teachers are also preparing for a lot of other things besides school. And so for us to be able to say, hey, this is your chance to be yourself, and to have some fellowship, you know, have a fun, because it's fun. We all know shopping is a fun experience, right? So it may be a lot of anxiety, especially for first-year teachers, and we want to encourage them and empower them and let them know that, hey, listen, you're going to do great, and we're counting on you, most importantly.
And it's not just clothes. You'll have other resources there for teachers as well.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's important for them to eat. So thanks to our friends from Roswell, we'll be providing some food for them. We also are going to be doing haircuts, thanks to our friends from Razor Pros. So they're going to be at haircuts. And then we have not just suits, but also the jackets. And we know fall time, they can't wait to wear the wool. And so we have those options as well. So it's not just their summer attire. We want to actually add some items for their fall time too, because we know they can't wait to wear the turtlenecks.
And accessorize too. If somebody wants to go, what do they need to know? Do they have to register ahead of time? Do they just show up?
Well, we do have an open door policy,
okay.
And normally we don't close until you get your clothes. But King Urban Life Center does need to close down for the night. So we do expect, so from 5 to 8 walk-ins are available. If you'd like a haircut, we do have a link on our social medias where they can register for that, so they can RSVP. But you know what, we actually are very excited throughout the rest of the year to be able to extend them access to our clothing. So teachers can always call us if they ever need us, and we'll make sure that we can take care of them.
Because sometimes something doesn't fit, or you realize what you thought you had in your closet isn't good anymore.
Well, also, you know, like if you see my tie here, you know, ties are themes, and every month there's a different theme. So maybe you need a green tie or something for St. Patrick's Day, right? Or maybe you need to dress, you know, a pink, something pink for Breast Awareness Week month, right? So we can provide those options for them so that they can, you know, express their solidarity to a lot of, you know, initiatives throughout the year.
With the students too. Well, DeWitt Lee III, the owner of St. Brian Clothiers, thank you so much for being here today on Most Buffalo. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's a great honor.
Well, as students get ready to head back to school, fall sports are getting underway, and with that comes concussions that can sideline any athlete, and often the symptoms are not obvious right away. 200 Side's Nate Mills has more on a local high school athlete who's helping her community learn more about concussions.
Niagara Falls High School soccer player Carmelo Velardo sustaining a concussion earlier this year. Velardo continuing to play after the initial hit, which she thinks extended her recovery. Now that she's fully cleared for the season with the Wolverines, she's raising awareness on head injuries and encouraging early detection.
Just knowing how severe they can get and knowing the long-term effects from them really put it into perspective that this is just a little portion of my life, and I'd rather get it diagnosed and be out for a few weeks than have symptoms and impacts that infect the rest of my life.
Athletic trainer Tony Sorace says making the decision to stop and get a potential head injury checked out is the most important one an athlete can make, especially, he says, if the symptoms include headaches, dizziness, and nausea.
If they start to have those and they took a hard hit during a practice or a game, then they need to tell their coach or the athletic trainer or someone on the team so that they can be checked out as soon as possible. The sooner they get checked out, the better off they are. And recognition of those symptoms is key in regards to taking care of that concussion immediately and returning sooner.
And both Velardo and Sorace are sharing their stories and advice ahead of the season so more athletes can stay safe.
Things are starting, and now is the time to make sure that we still know the common signs and symptoms, if things occur, what we need to do.
Through speaking and telling my story, I hope to help athletes like myself who are a little stubborn that it's okay to be out and that it's very important you recover.
On your side.
And that was Nate Mills reporting. This Thursday, the New York State Athletic Trainers Association and the Brain Injury Association of New York State are hosting a free education seminar at Niagara Falls High School to help athletes, coaches, and parents spot the warning signs. You can find details on WGRZ.com or on the WGRZ mobile app. Well, the Bills are back in town after a road trip to Cleveland for preseason Game 2. Buffalo routed the Browns 31-7, and now they'll get some practice preparing during a short week. The Bills will be hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday. This week will have even higher stakes for the players who aren't guaranteed a roster spot but hope they earn one. Defensive coordinator Jim Leonard explained today why the last preseason game can make some dreams come true and can crush others.
It doesn't get easier. Like, I was through it a lot of times as a player and now some as a coach, and it's always difficult because there's guys that have earned the right to be here that just don't have a spot. And your goal as a coach is like, how many of these players make it on a roster, right? You want to get the best grouping and the best mix for your current team, right? But everyone else you're pulling like crazy for to just put something on tape that somebody's going to take a chance on them.
The deadline for teams to finalize their 53-man rosters is this Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us today on Most Buffalo. We'll see you back here live on Thursday at 2:30. You can always watch, though, the latest episodes, plus clips from the show right here on the WGRZ app. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great day.